this example video, we're going to be looking at review exercises 14-1 and 14-2. So it tells us that on January 1st, our company issues a 10% 5-year bond with a face value of $150,000 and an effective interest rate of 12%. Interest is to be paid semi-annually on June 30th and December 31st. And they want us to prepare the calculations to prove that the selling price of the bond is $138,959.90. So we need to actually do our calculations. So we need to figure out our present value of the face value, and we need to figure out the present value of the interest payments that we're going to make. So two different components. Remember, whatever company is issuing the bond is they're the ones that are actually selling the bond in order to get the loan. So we know the face value of our loan is $150,000. They tell us that we have a 5-year bond that pays interest semi-annually and that the effective interest rate is 12%. So we have two different interest rates that we're dealing with. We have the effective interest rate, and we have what's known as the contract or stated rate of interest. That's the interest, the amount that the company is required to pay to the bondholder. So when we're figuring out present value, we have to figure out the N, which are the periods, and the I, which is the interest rate that we're going to be using in our present value tables. So N, number of periods, is the number of interest payments that we're going to have. So we're doing 10 interest payments because it's a 5-year bond and we make interest payments twice a year, so semi-annual. When we're figuring out present value, the interest rate that we use is the effective rate, not the contract or stated rate, but the effective rate of interest. They told us the effective rate of interest is 12%. Remember, every interest rate is expressed in annual terms. And remember, we pay interest semi-annually. So just like what we did with our payments where we doubled our payments, we have to cut our interest rate in half. So we're going to be using 6%. So when we're looking at the present value of our face value, we're going to use our table 3, which is the present value of $1. Reason for that is that's because it's a lump sum that we are in fact dealing with. So present value of $1. So we're going to come down 10 periods and we're going to come over to 6%. So we're going to multiply the face value, or that 150,000, by 0.558395. So our present value, 150,000, times our present value amount of 50.558395. So the present value of our $150,000 is really $83,759.25. Basically, what is $150,000 5 years from now worth today? Present value of the interest. We need to figure out how much actual interest we are required to pay to the bondholder every 6 months. So in order to do that, we have to take our face value times our contract or stated rate of interest, and we have to cut that in half because, again, they tell us that it's done on a semi-annual basis. So we have $150,000 face value. The stated or contract rate, they told us, is 10%. And again, we're going to cut that in half because we are doing this on a semi-annual basis. So that means every 6 months, we have to pay $7,500 in interest. $7,500 is what's going to be paid to the bondholder every 6 months for 5 years. So we're going to make 10 payments of $7,500. So when we have a series of equal payments made on set dates, that is considered an annuity. So when we're talking about present value, we need to go to our present value of an ordinary annuity table. Our periods and our interest stay the same. So we come down 10 periods over to 6%. So we're going to take that 7,500 and multiply it by 7.360087. So back up here, we have our $7,500 is our semi-annual interest payment, and we're going to multiply it by that present value of an ordinary annuity amount that we had, which again is 7.360087. So we add the two together, and the sum of the two is the selling price of your bond. So the selling price of our bond is $138,959.90. So although they didn't ask for it in this example, I'm going to do the journal entry for the issuance of the bond. So the reason why we issue a bond is in order to receive cash. The amount of cash that we receive is in fact that selling price. We now then have what is called a discount on bonds payable. And the discount on bonds payable is the difference between the $150,000 face value and the amount of cash that we are receiving. So we have an $11,040 discount, and our bonds payable must go on our books at face value. It can never go on for more or less than that face value amount. In review exercise 14.2, it says, using this information, assume that the company uses what we call the effective interest rate method to amortize the discount. And so to prepare the journal entry to record the first interest payment on June 30th. So on June 30th, we're going to record an interest payment that was made. So we are paying out that interest. So we are going to be recording interest expense. In order to record interest expense under the effective interest rate method, we have to take the prior carrying value of that bond multiplied by the effective interest rate. And if we pay interest on a semi-annual basis like we do in this case, we have to cut it in half. So our prior carrying value, meaning the value that we're carrying on our books for this bond, is basically what we had as of January 1st. So $150,000 was the bond payable, less what we call an unamortized discount of $11,040, means that the prior carrying value was $138,960. We now need to multiply that by the effective interest rate of 12%, and then multiply that, well, we actually want to carry out our decimal place here, and multiply that by 12%, and then multiply that again by a half, because again, we are paying interest on a semi-annual basis. So we have $8,337.59 that we are going to have in terms of our interest expense that we're going to be recording. So now we have to look at how much cash we have to pay and how much we have to start reducing that discount on bonds payable. Remember, right now the carrying value is at that $138,959.90, which is the $150,000 minus this $11,000 discount. Over the life of the bond, we need to get rid of that discount amount. So by the time that the bond matures, the only thing that's left that's associated with this bond is a bond payable of $150,000, because that's how much we're going to have to pay in one lump sum to that bondholder on that maturity date. So we have to record how much cash we actually have to pay to the bondholder, which we already know, which is right here. We are contractually obligated to pay them $7,500 every 6 months. That doesn't change. It's in the contract. It's what we call a bond indenture. It is stated in there that we have to pay them 10% interest annually, and that we're doing it on a semi-annual basis. The difference between the interest expense that we're recognizing and the cash that we are paying is how much we're going to reduce our discount on bonds payable for. So it's simply the difference between the interest recorded and the cash that's being paid. So we are going to reduce our discount on bonds payable by $837.59.